Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeannie Conkey with the Muhammad Ali Center, and it's my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you here tonight. We had hoped we could do this in person, but regardless, we're here for the same reason, and that is to celebrate the accomplishments of these young people on this phenomenal new book. Muhammad Ali, his alma mater, of course, was Central High School, and it also holds a very special place in our hearts. And so we are very, very excited to be a partner in this event.
Hello there, my name's Joe Manning. I'm the Deputy Director of the Louisville Story Program, and we are thrilled to welcome you to our big book launch celebration for our newest title, The Fights We Fought Have Brought Us Here. It's a remarkable and timely and important book, and tonight's the night that we celebrate the 10 authors from Central High School who wrote it. The Louisville Story Program is a literary arts outreach nonprofit here in Louisville, and our mission is to reach out to folks we don't hear from often enough and provide the tools and opportunities and resources and platforms necessary for them to tell their stories in their own words, to document their communities from the inside out in documentary books and in other media. When we had the opportunity to do some programming at Central High School, which is one of the most sort of historically significant institutions in the city of Louisville, we knew we had to do it. There's a list of alums as long as your arm who've come out of Central High School who have really transformed the face of Louisville, Kentucky over the years and the world, obviously most notably the champ, Muhammad Ali. And these authors are standing on the shoulders of giants, as I say in the introduction, to be sure. But they are their own people. They have their own stories to tell, and they have done a fantastic job in telling them. We partnered with Central and with JCPS and with Principal Green at Central to provide these authors with a 2-semester-long college-level creative nonfiction workshop. We also worked with them well into the summer of this year to complete this book. We could not have done this work without our co-teacher and our constant companion, Ann Walsh, a longtime educator at Central High School and as dedicated an educator as we have ever met. Ann, thank you so much for your partnership. It was invaluable. Of course, we conducted a lot of workshops in Miss Walsh's class, 2 or 3 days a week, starting at the beginning of the school year in 2019. And we worked our tails off. The authors were given the sort of nuts and bolts of creative writing and the elements of craft, and they got to working. And we just really ran them through the paces. We promised them that this would be the most writing and revision and editing, and one of the most sort of thorough creative practices they'd ever been engaged in, and we did not fail to produce. It was an awful lot of work for them, especially after about 75 workshops, when the entire world sort of ground to a halt, and we were no longer able to meet in person. Everybody went home and sort of locked down to keep themselves and their families safe. It was unclear how COVID was going to affect this project, and I am not surprised to report that these authors had follow-through and continued to work their tails off in close partnership with their editors, several times a week, checking in with us, the LSP staff, getting feedback about their progress, and they kept going. They whittled away at this work and put their head down and demonstrated the workmanlike sort of diligence required to create a fantastic piece of literature. Writing books is not easy. Writing very good books is nearly impossible, and to do so in a global pandemic and during one of the most significant and important civil rights moments in a lifetime really says a lot about the resolve of these authors. We are simply put humbled by what they have achieved to finish this book. I can't say enough about the stories in this book. I think that what binds them together is, as the title might suggest, some reflection on hard times and difficult moments and figuring out how to constitute our past and our experiences from this present moment, and to understand how we got here, through the difficult times of our lives. These authors, who are juniors and seniors in high school, demonstrated a type of introspection and self-evaluation that I think is pretty remarkable, and they're to be applauded for that. So this book sort of highlights and celebrates the lives of and experiences of the community members at Central High School and the authors, and what they have experienced in their lives, and we would do well to listen to them. I think it's no surprise, and it's no sort of news flash, that we're living through a moment in which we would all be very well served to diligently listen to our neighbors, to meet them where they are, and to hear them, to do some deep listening. And we hope that this book will provide that opportunity, and will provide a means by which the sort of readership has an opportunity to start that practice, which in my estimation is the first step to healing and to real recognition of the inherent dignity that all of us have, and that we must recognize in our neighbors. So, surprise, surprise, authors, that's what you have done. And I can't tell you enough times how proud we are of this achievement. It's magnificent. So sit back and enjoy this evening. Enjoy seeing your colleagues reading their passages, and if you are a viewer out there, you'll want to get a hold of the book. You can do so at Carmichael's bookstore. The books are waiting for you on the shelves. Otherwise, contact your local bookseller of choice and ask them to order the book. Or you can go to LouisvilleStoryProgram.org and order it from us. Otherwise, just sort of put it in a search engine and follow your nose. But please enjoy this program, in which the authors will read excerpts of their passages. We'll hear from Persia ARCHIE-SMITH, Nadia Green, Anaya Cherry, Sylvia Lance, Halima Omar, SORAYA Robinson, Melissa Torres Rojas, and Craig Wright Jr. Two of our authors, NATALIA UNSELD and PAOLA JIMENEZ MORA, were not able to join us for this taping. And we really wish they could have, but it wasn't possible. And so we want to tell them we are so proud of you, and you were there with us in spirit. And to everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to sign off for now and stop flapping my gums. So please enjoy these readings from the authors of The Fights We Fought Have Brought Us Here.
My name is Nadia Green, and I am a freshman from the University of Louisville. I will be reading an excerpt from my chapter, I Am the Dancer I Wanted to Be, which goes through my experiences with both professional and recreational dance. It was a fondue coupe, tendu ball change, releve coupe passe, and balance combination, with left hand at the bar, starting with preparation in second, feet, fifth position. Classical ballet is like math. There is a right way to do everything. A lot of dancers start their studies off with classical ballet because they are often told it is the foundation of all dance, and it teaches techniques and mechanics that are universal throughout any dance form. Most of my years of instruction were spent with a contemporary amalgamation of ballet, jazz, and modern, all of whose movements and vernaculars stray away from Eurocentric dance and bring in elements of dances from Africa and African American culture. I only took 3 years of classical ballet, so when I encounter this dance form, it's usually more advanced than anything I've ever seen. The contemporary ballet company Complexions, founded by two dancers from the Alvin Ailey Dance Company, had come to Louisville to give master classes and hold mock auditions for young dancers from the Louisville Ballet, Louisville Dance Alliance, and my group's Arts Reach. Arts Reach offers female dance students professional grade classes in the ballroom of the Chestnut Street YMCA. It would be a practice auditions where the instructors would tell us what most professional auditions would expect from us. The other girls in the room were around my age. They were all slimmer and they towered over me. Clusters of dancers were scattered at the bars that stretched across the room, chatting as they stretched. It seemed like most of them knew each other. All of them were wearing ballet shoes and some form of leotard and tights. Some wore pink tights and black leotards, while others wore black tights and flashy leg warmers, or maybe even a tan leotard and tan tights. All of us from Arts Reach wore sweats and stood barefoot. Compared to the other dancers who spent 6 days a week in the dance studio, compared to our 1 day a week, I knew we had no chance of impressing anyone. The instructors, one male and the other female, were at most 7 years older than me. It was so surreal seeing the ideal dancer in real life. Long legs, slender frame, short torso, and long neck. I was mesmerized by the difference between me and them. Not too much older than me, the male instructor was even from Louisville and had reached heights and accomplishments that I have only dreamt of. They were bubbly and energetic as they encouraged us to stretch before the first bar exercise. I glanced around me and making eye contact with the girls from the other groups. Their eyes were trembling anxiously and I couldn't help but chuckle, thinking, they'll be fine. It's us Arts Reach dancers who should be worried. Do we really belong here? Yet I wouldn't let myself be intimidated. I posted myself at the front bar so I could see the two instructors' feet, while the other girls from Arts Reach lingered behind. It was clear to me that this audition would be difficult. The process of writing this book was a very different process than anything that I've ever experienced before, not because I was writing so much, but it was because I was writing so much about myself. But at the end of the day, it was definitely an experience that has helped me be able to express my emotions more when I'm even talking to people. I want people to take away from my chapter that it's okay to change your mind, and that it's okay to even be fickle-hearted. It's okay to never it's okay to be devoted to something, but then all of a sudden feel moved to do something else. And that it's okay, but you still have to put in that 100% work to get to where you were in that one thing, to get to where you want to be in the other.
Nadia, I want to say congratulations and that I'm so proud of you. You've done such awesome things, and I look forward to seeing all the things that you do, the woman that you'll become. And I also want to say I am so honored to call you my daughter. I'm so honored to be your mother. Keep doing your very best. I love you, sweetie.
Hi, my name is Craig Wright. I'm a freshman at the University of Louisville, and my chapter name is The Lesson at the Bottom of the Hill. This chapter is basically about the hardships me and my family had to go through with my dad being in jail. But the main focus of this chapter is about how I dealt with it and my own personal emotions. While my father was locked up, our main way of communication was letters. It wasn't the most up-to-date form of communication, but considering the situation, it was the fastest. My mind went completely blank every time I went to write them. Sometimes I got so frustrated that I tore the paper in half and had to start over. When I finally finished a letter, my mom would mail it off, and I'd remember something I hadn't included. I'd be so disappointed in myself because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect. My mom did a great job of raising me on her own, but the wisdom of things that only a father and son could talk about was lost to me. I always felt an emptiness, like there was a hole in my heart that only he could fill. I wanted to hear the words he wrote come from his mouth. You never realize how much you miss the little meaningless conversations or arguments with a person until you can't have them anymore. I kept every letter that he sent to me. over 100 letters. I cherished them. I made a deal with myself to keep all of them until the day he got home. Then I would get rid of them. Because as much as I loved the letters, I only loved them because they were my only form of response from my dad while he was gone. I kept them all in a folder, hidden from everyone. And when I was sad or lonely, or whenever I missed him, I would read one of the letters, and it would give me the motivation to keep on pushing. One night, my mom, my sister, and I were all sitting at a table eating dinner and having normal family small talk when she paused for a moment and then said, "I need each of you to write a letter to the parole board telling them why you think your dad should be let out. It doesn't have to be long. I just want to make sure that you both do something. Just write whatever you feel is right." The way she explained it, it was so simple, but doing it was a whole other story. Every time I tried to think of something, my mind went blank. I procrastinated to the last day because I just didn't know what I would write. I wanted the parole board to read it and think, okay, maybe he is a good person. I would constantly think to myself, if I mess up, will he not get out? As these thoughts kept piling into my head, the computer screen seemed to get bigger and closer, as if preparing to grab me and swallow me whole. After talking to my mom, it finally hit me that instead of thinking about writing to the parole board, I decided to write as if I was trying to convince my dad to come home. I wrote about the good times we had, about how close we were, about the time I earned my wings, and when we went fishing together. After that, the letter just seemed to form itself in front of me. I feel like my chapter in particular, is very important, not only to me, but like a lot of my family members, because they don't know a lot of the stuff that I've written in this chapter. A lot of this stuff is stuff I've never talked about to anyone, not even my closest friends. So having the people closest to me read this and see what I was actually going through in my thought process, I feel like it'd be important to finally get that out there and get it off of my chest instead of just keeping it bottled in for all this time. It was like for me to write it, it was honestly tough at times. There was a lot of times where I would look at it and I'd be like, wow, I really wrote all this. And then there'd be other times when I'd look at it and I'd be like, I just can't bring myself to write anymore. And it would just be a constant battle with myself and trying to find the motivation and the courage to keep pushing through, keep writing, just keep your hands typing, just keep going, don't stop. And it was just like, I gotta keep going. I want it to be there. I want everybody else to know. I want it to be out for people to see. The effect that it had writing this was definitely significant. It made me feel like writing about a very heavy topic like this, especially certain parts that were heavier than others, it just made me feel like, just give like a sigh of relief after I was done with it. It was just like it's done, it's out there. It's all I need to do now is just fix it up and clean it up, and all my emotions and thoughts are right here on this paper. It's just, I don't know, it's just very relieving, just like a weight was lifted off my chest, like I could actually breathe again.
Hey, what's going on, big dog? Hey, man, I read that book that you wrote. You did a great job, man. The feelings that you put in it, the things you experienced, I felt it, man, firsthand. I lived it, you know. A lot of people are gonna read it, but unfortunately we lived it and we made it through it. So good job, man. You are now a published author. Good job. Keep up the work, man. You are exceeding expectations. Keep up the good work. You are on your way to greatness, man.
CJ, I just want to let you know that I am so proud of you, baby. Your book touched me dearly because we went through it together, all of us,
Yeah.
and we held it down. I want you to know that I'm so proud of you. You have accomplished a lot. At the age of 17, you not only wrote a book, you graduated high school, and you also started college at 17. I just want you to know that I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I love you. And I know that there is no level to as high as you can go, baby. I love you.
I'm very proud of you, and you did very good on the book, and I'm impressed, but I'm pretty sure I could do better.
And hey, man, you know what I'm saying? You are my hero.
Love you.
Love you, man.
Love you.
Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Anaya Cherry. I'm 17 years old. I am a senior at Central High School, and today I will be reading an excerpt from my chapter, Still Yourself, But Not the Same. I'll be talking about abuse that my family went through in the past and how we've overcome it today. Throughout all the emotional, spiritual, and psychological effects of my parents' divorce, my mom didn't have time to manifest and be to herself. Like a double knotted string, she was confused about how to get out of her previous relationship. But she wanted so badly to be loved. I was 8 years old when my mother introduced us to a new man. He was 6'6", buff, his head round, and his face always freshly shaved. He wore baggy old clothing and any old shoes he could find. This man had a slight smirk to his face. It wasn't a normal smile, though. It was deception. The smile of a faker, the smile of a liar, the smile of a hurt human being, the smile of a broken soul. The type of smile a man puts on right before he lays his hands on your mother. The type of smile he puts on while whipping that same hand across her face repeatedly. The type of smile that gloats when hearing her children scream at the top of their lungs for someone, anyone, to help. It was the same smile he uses with her children after pretending like nothing ever happened. The same smile he showed us when we saw her black eye, and he promised he'd never do anything to hurt her again. I copied that same smile for my professional pictures once. I woke up the morning after Easter that year, ready to finally get these pictures over with. I practiced my smile as we walked in. As I leaned against this white stool decorated with flowers, he stood next to me, breathing over my shoulder and forcing me to smile, a very painful and insincere smile. He whispered to me the entire time, promising the same lies he'd promised to my mother and our family. It's okay. Everything's gonna be just fine. He gently touched my face, pulling both sides of my mouth upward, positioning my face for a smile. When my face returned to a scowl, he would apply force like he did to my mother. I've been thinking about an undeniable truth that victims of abuse share. When it's all over, people expect you to come out victorious. No one tells you how hard it is to not feel like you're still trapped. No one tells you about the endless nights that you stay up because you can't sleep, or the nights that you get shaken up out of your sleep from the nightmares of PTSD. No one tells you how to overcome those things. It's something I had to go through for myself. Although you will come out victorious, you will not come out the same as you were when you entered. You will be broken but hopeful, healed but scarred. There will be changes in yourself and the way you interact with other people. but these changes might not be apparent until you live on day by day and start feeling amiss. You are still yourself, but you are not the same, and that is okay. I feel like being a published author is something that, a lot of writers, if you've always been a writer your whole life like I have, it's just something that you probably always wanted to do. I've wrote many books like in my house, and obviously they've never been published. So to actually hold a book, be able to hold a book that I published and everybody else will be able to see is just like, wow. So writing something so personal as I did, definitely something that was like, I had to be pushed to do, something that was very scared and challenging to do, to actually bring up things from the past and unlock doors that I've, had locked for a long time, and actually revisit those memories and things like that, and those emotions, those feelings and stuff. So being able to share this with someone else that I don't even know is definitely scary. If I can help someone else though, I definitely want to. I'm a very charismatic person, so if I can help anyone overcome things that I've been through, as well as I know other people are going through or have been through and probably don't know how to overcome those things, or speak out about those things. It is definitely hard to speak out about those things, and so speaking out is like one of the top tier things for abuse, or something like so powerful as I've wrote about. So just letting other people know that they can talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay that you've been through something like that. It doesn't stop anything. It's okay. The writing process for me was obviously very hard. It was a day-to-day challenge. It was something that I every day wanted to pull back from, something that I probably didn't want to talk about. And after I wrote it, I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk about stuff like that. Maybe I shouldn't. It was very, very scary. However, I am extremely happy that I decided to keep going with it and keep fighting through with it. It allowed me to actually open up those things that I probably never talked about with my family. It allowed my family to come closer, actually, and to revisit those things and be able to speak out and understand how everyone else is feeling the same thing that I was feeling as well. And we now share a connection with those things. So it was a very good thing that I decided to write about.
Hey there, Louisville Story Program and Central High School authors. This is your principal, Mr. Green. I'm coming to you today with a little special message to say congratulations. I'm very proud of you and the hard work that you've done on getting this work published. I'm very, very happy to announce that yesterday I received my very own copy of your book. I cannot wait to read it. I own hundreds of books here at school and at home. And of all the books that I own, this is probably the one that I'm the most proud of. And I cannot wait to read it. I'm beyond ecstatic for you and also ecstatic for our school, because your stories matter and everything that you have to say in this book matters. And I'm also very proud of this because you guys are the living embodiment of our school vision, which is relentlessly continuing our tradition as leaders of positive social change. You guys have done this through writing this book. I cannot wait to read these stories, as I know they're going to be awesome because you guys are awesome. So congratulations again. I'm very, very proud of you, and I can't wait to read your stories.
Hey authors, this is Amber Duke, board member for the Louisville Story Program. Just wanted to say congratulations on your book launch. So proud of you guys, so proud of the hard work that you did during a pandemic to get your very powerful stories out to the community. Congratulations.
My name is SORAYA Robinson. I'm a senior at Central High School, and I'm a member of the swim team. My chapter is about the stereotype of Black people not knowing how to swim and the history behind it, and me learning how to swim. I was always just so excited for the summertime, and the thing I looked forward to most was going to Algonquin Park, where my cousins and I would throw water balloons and play on the big rusty slides and swings that made a clunky noise when they went up. But when I begged to go to the pool, my mom would always ask me, "What's the point if you don't know how to swim?" Then she'd tell me to go play around in the sprinklers. I didn't have the satisfaction of being in a pool. Because of the panic in my mom's heart, and because there were problems finding pools to go to. I seen this funny meme that shows this little black kid sitting in a pool, confused and crying, and the text above him said, "When you get in the water, but remember you're black." Thought about the stereotype of black people and them not knowing how to swim. 64% of black people don't know how to swim. Swimming wasn't part of black culture in America. Historical events have kept black people from learning how to swim. Throughout the Jim Crow era, legislators segregated schools, public parks, theaters, and pools. Black people couldn't swim because they weren't allowed to use the pools. When they did go to the pools where whites swim, they were threatened, chased out, or victims of violence. Later, funding for public pools in urban areas was decreased, while people in the suburbs, they had their own private clubs. This continued for generations. And for blacks, learning how to swim wasn't part of their upbringing. It wasn't passed down. If your parents didn't know how to do something, they probably aren't going to be able to get you to do it. It's almost like the lack of access brought fear. And one thing that was passed down was the fear of swimming. Even though pools aren't segregated anymore, some black people don't have the same resources as white people. To be able to swim, 2019, the city of Louisville closed down for public swimming pools, 4 of them, including the only pool in the West End, making it hard for black people and poor citizens to be able to swim. Today in the West End, there are no pools that are free. I've always heard black people can't swim. It's something we say as a community, but saying you can't do something is a form of negligence that can do so much harm. Can't? That's absolutely ludicrous. This black person was going to learn how to swim. I haven't been at a central swim pool because of COVID-19, and I was used to, going to practice and then going to school and then going to practice. Now I'm at home, and during a break, I was trying to figure out a way for me to get to a pool because I needed to practice. And then I got a membership at the Y, so I'm at the YMCA practicing. And it's different because usually I'm with my teammates, but I see other people who's on the swim team at different schools and kind of chit-chat, make conversation, but some things that I wanted to say that I thought that other people might have not felt like it was okay, but then I just remember one of the things that I learned from swimming. I need to stick with it with anything else. It's okay to let go.
Hi, Louisville Story Program, Central Yellow Jacket writers. You have so much to be proud of with this book. It is full of hope and joy, and it is a great message to the world. I thank you so much for the work you did, and it was wonderful to be part of it.
Hi, this is LaTanya Henry. I'm a board member for the Louisville Story Program, and I must say that I am very excited for all of you young authors. I look forward to reading the book. The fights we fought have brought us here. I can't imagine what all the stories that are entailed in that, and I just want you to know that I'm excited and I can't wait to read the book. I'm so proud of each one of you to have the courageous spirits to write the stories that have been written, and I can't wait to read it. Thank you. Bye.
My name is Sylvia Lantz, and I'm a senior at Central High School. My chapter is called The Stars Will Whisper Back. It's about my family and being in a forever changing environment growing up and the things I've been through along the way. When I was 7 years old, we moved into a house across the street from the church that provided it to us. They called it the Oasis House, and it became our place in the middle of the desert, our photo spot in a chaotic world. I have memories of catching lizards in the yard and riding around on my scooter in the driveway during that summer, and building a fort in my bedroom made out of blankets and pillows. We were there for one summer and one Christmas, but then, suddenly, one day, we packed up our lives in boxes and left. We were lost with nowhere to go once again. I was becoming used to the feeling. Growing up, moving from place to place all the time, you become used to a forever changing environment, and it's embedded into your brain that that's how it's always going to be. When your friends are changing, your house is changing, your circumstances are changing, you kind of detach yourself from the words home and stability. There was an on-edge feeling that settled among my family for what was to come. I remember the pained expression that developed on my mother's face as a result of it. The look wasn't angry, but sad and hopeless. But my mom smiled to cover up her pained expression like she always did. She's the strongest person I know, and I hope one day I'll be as strong as she is. She's always had a spark in her. She's a great poet and has a wild look in her eyes when she's creating something. She never cares about what anyone thinks and does not mind embarrassing you or herself in public. I guess that's a mother thing. She would risk everything for me, and she's always had my back no matter what. The sky could be falling down outside, but I wouldn't be able to tell because I would look at her and see nothing but a comforting smile and bright, wild eyes. When I was younger, moving around so much, I began to believe home was a place. But then I began to realize as I got a little older that I had a home all along, no matter where I was. Home can be found in someone, not somewhere. There's still constant chaos in our family, but there's also frequently the strong smell of cookies that can touch you from all the way upstairs. Smiles form on all of our faces when we gather around and discuss life and the things beyond it. I've peeked at my mother sitting at the end of the table to find tears sliding quietly down her face as she managed to say a prayer. When I was young, I never understood why she would be crying during happy moments. Once I got older, I started to realize that they weren't tears of pain, but tears of happiness that came from the emotion built up within her. It came from staying strong for her family and holding all the emotions back, never breaking down. At times like these, she was reminded of how blessed we were to make it through another year. When I first came into Miss Walsh's classroom and they told me that we were going to be writing a book, I didn't really know what to expect. I felt like I was in pretty much an unpredictable situation. And at first, I didn't know if they were serious. It seemed pretty crazy to me that a bunch of high school kids were going to be in a book published. It was really inspiring to hear fellow people and my peers be so passionate about writing like I am. I think that really motivated me in the process of writing my chapter. Being around people that were my age that had the same interest and the same passion that I did really drove me to get out of my comfort zone and write about what I wrote about. The process of writing my chapter was a little hard because I've been through a lot, and opening up to the world is a scary process, and doing that is really unpredictable. Opening up to basically strangers that you've never seen before, and the thought of them reading about your life is terrifying. And so the process was really long, it was really difficult, but I'm really proud of all of us that we did it and we were brave enough to do it, because it is really hard being a teenager, and a lot of people just don't get that opportunity and that chance, so I'm really glad that I did. I think that everybody could use a little bit of inspiration right now. And you see a lot of young people today, going out in protest, speaking up for what they believe in, and really just putting themselves out there. And I think that that can be inspiring to anybody, whether they're young or old. And I think that my chapter personally can motivate a lot of people to just break out of their comfort zone and come out of their shell and really just say what they're feeling. Like the Black Lives Matter movement, it's all emotions built up from thousands of people, and we're all just feeling all these things. And I think that my chapter gives the message that it's okay to feel those emotions, and it's okay to express that to strangers, because you never know who you can connect with, and you never know what somebody else is going through. So just talking about those things can help way more than you could ever imagine.
Congratulations on the book selling. Keep doing good.
This is the Lance family congratulating Sylvia. Good luck to all the authors.
it going, y'all. Keep it going. Keep it going, Sylvia.
Hi, my name is Melissa Torres. I'm a senior at Central this year. I'm in the pre-med magnet, and I am from Holguín, Cuba. I will be reading a passage from my chapter in the book, and it's called Orgullosa y Fiera. When I arrived to the US and I entered Walmart for the first time, it was like walking into a paradise. The temperature was always perfect. The rainy days were forgotten in the heat of the store. And freshness was in the air in the produce sections as the sprinklers gracefully sprayed the greens. The pop music coming and going in the background kept my family's pace. There were so many products lined up, one after the other, that it was distracting. Walmart is the center of simplicity for the life we live today. Aisle by aisle, the shopping carts gets more and more full. We can eat avocados and tomatoes even when they're not in season. And there's always bread, oil, rice, unlike the scarcity that defines Cuba. Back in Holguín, the town where I grew up, food and other essentials were limited. When things arrived at the bodega, people would run to quickly form a long queue. The soap arrived, a neighbor would say, and the line would get longer by the second. It was never guaranteed that you would get what you came for by the time you got to the front of the line. But even though some things were scarce, we had more local fresh food and a more social community. People talked to each other more. Doors were wide open. People sat on their porches so others would stop by and talk for a while. I missed the bicycle bells and loud music at any hour of the day. In my neighborhood, people made homemade snacks to sell out of their own houses. My neighbor Araceli sold mantecados, which are shortbread cookies with a circle in the middle of guava jam. And my great-grandma, Norma, she used to sell mango and banana ice cream bars. My farmer cousin, Rafael, used to bring cachucha peppers, corn, tomatoes, and plantains to sell in the city. When I lived in Cuba, I imagined the US as a paradise where everything was perfect. No economic problems, no homelessness. Mi papá says that from a young age, he began to notice that the socialist system did not work. He told me, the long speeches Fidel Castro gave me did not change my opinion, because what I saw on the plate at the end of the day did not reflect anything he said. I would watch American movies and the store looked so packed, like nothing I had ever seen. When my uncle came to visit from the US, he said they had everything, no scarcity at all. And now, after many conversations I had with my parents and the things that I remember, I know that my parents had it rough. They made many sacrifices for my sister and me to have a better future. More than anything, that is my greatest motivation to work hard and study a career that I love and will help them live comfortably. Thank you. Yeah, so the process about writing this book, it can be described as messy, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day. It's like gathering all your memories that you have in there as much as you can with the feeling that you have that day, and then you find in between that a flow to make it all seem like a final piece. And he gave us assignments on certain, I would say, prompts to practice. That was at the beginning. Later on, we used those essentials like storytelling and descriptive to show and not tell. to put it into our own narrations or memories that we have. So, well, this was definitely a unique project. In school, we don't do many of personal writing, so it was very relieving. For me, it was sort of like a healing process, because there's many things that like I went through was not bad, they were good because they made the future that I have now and will have. But yeah, this writing helped me heal. And I was able to remember things that I thought I had forgotten. So it shaped me in many ways. And something that I didn't think I was going to learn was how to listen, because we had to share the stories with the classmates in class. And sometimes when one has anxiety, right? I have anxiety sometimes. So in this case, when they read it, at the beginning, I was so nervous about what I had to say that I didn't really pay attention. But as the class got going and the months passed, I learned how to listen to their stories and not worry about myself for just one moment.
Felicidades, Melissa, mi niña grande. Mamá está muy orgullosa de este nuevo logro que has obtenido con este proyecto. Mamá te ama siempre.
Hi, I'm Keith Look, the former principal from the Academy at Shawnee, where the inaugural book of the Louisville Story Program written by students was authored. Because of that, I know just how much time and effort you've invested into this project, and I know how special it is. You have to realize that by becoming a published author, you have now been granted immortality, because your words, your stories, will live through it forever through this book. And by association, the people that you mentioned in the book, and even your principal, Raymond Green, he too is granted immortality by the project and the time and the words that you've invested to create for this. It's extremely special. Congratulations. You've truly done an amazing creation that will live forever.
My name is ARCHIE-SMITH. I graduated from Central in 2020. My chapter is about my mental health, my family, and one specific day when I had a mental evaluation and how I dealt with it during and after. I expected my doctor to just say the usual. Get your health together, eat better, do more exercise, blah, blah, blah. Instead, she said she was worried about me and advised me to go to the emergency room for a mental evaluation. All I felt was anger. Why do I need an evaluation? I thought. Okay, so I have suicidal thoughts. Big whoop. I'm not gonna do anything. Maybe a few months ago. But I'm different now. I swear. My depression developed when I was in the 5th grade, when I started losing friends and felt like I couldn't trust anyone. I remember looking at my old friends' social media and seeing them hanging out with new people, and I started to think they were trying to replace me. That's when the feeling started. Of people not needing you anymore. It was a scary time. I didn't want anyone in my life to know I was depressed. Not talking about it meant I sank deeper and deeper into my head. I tried therapy and medicine, stopped both, which then messed up my mental and chemical balance more. I began to feel depressed, suicidal, and angry. I could always tell when I was about to have a breakdown, if I was paying attention. I would get cold and even get goosebumps. I felt myself moving back into a dark space, like I'm moving behind a curtain. I know this feeling isn't uncommon in our society, but I still feel alone. That night, we went to Kozair's Children's Hospital for an evaluation. The open space of the waiting room with lots of people had my anxiety up. I tried to distract myself, keep my mind off things by watching the people in the waiting room. There were cute little kids running around being annoying. A woman gathered a bunch of kids around a fish tank to keep them focused for a little bit so they calmed down. This is RJ, and this is AJ, and CJ, and DJ, and oh, This one? This one is PJ. The lady said, pointing to different fish. This one is AJ? One of the kids asked, pointing to a random fish. Yeah, the lady said, going along with whatever her kid was saying. She looked back at the other parents and shrugged. I was trying my hardest not to stare at people in the waiting room because I know how rude and uncomfortable it can be. I saw a father and a teenage daughter who looked so sad. The entire time, I never saw her pull out a phone or look at anything. She just sat there, thinking, trying to calm down. She and I kept giving each other glances. She looked like someone who had just been given hard news. I wanted to go sit down next to her and talk to figure out what was wrong, but I didn't have the courage for that. She was wearing a medical band and looked red in the face, as if she had been crying. I know that look. I've been so emotional lately, and it was getting hard to fight the tears. Water just does whatever it wants.
I guess it's like really registering now, and I feel very excited and kind of emotional, but I don't really want to show that yet. And it's just, I don't know, it's so unreal for me because it's like, wow, I like wrote a book, you know? I wanted to share this story with the world because, like I said in my chapter, I felt alone, and I know that so many people struggle with mental health and they feel alone, and it's just very important to hear somebody else like feel what you're feeling and going through what you're going through, and it's good to have like basically like representation that it'll be okay and you can get through it as long as you just like keep going and take it step by step. And so I just wanted to share that with the world. The process of writing my chapter was very hard for me at first, especially because I'm not really an open person and I don't open up to like anybody, like not even my mom. And so having to be vulnerable and actually put this out and remember things about how I used to feel like when I was so happy when I was younger versus now, and I'm just like depressed, and it's just like it was very, I guess, like kind of heartbreaking to me. And it was just like I started to get uncomfortable like when I was writing, and I was like, I don't really want to talk about this, but I was like, I just want to get it out. So I just got it out and just wrote it down, and now I feel better. You know, it usually happens like that. You just write or you open up and it just feels uncomfortable because you're not used to it, but now I feel better and I'm okay and I talk about it, and so I'm really happy. Well, being in this workshop with other people, like at first it was kind of nerve-wracking. Like we had this process where we would share out pieces of what we wrote, and we had to give feedback to that person, and I never knew what to say. And sometimes like hearing other people's stuff, I was like, wow, like you've actually gone through some stuff. And to me, I have this problem where because I feel like everybody else has bigger problems, I just shrink mine down. And so I would just be like, why am I here? Like, I have nothing to actually share to the world. I've never been through anything. I've never gone through anything. So there's like no point. But it was really good to have that experience and see what other people were going through. And it just, I guess, opened my eyes just a little bit more to be more sympathetic and understanding that, you know, we're not all the same, but we just go through similar feelings on the inside. So it was really good for me.
Congratulations to everyone who worked on the book. You did a great and wonderful job. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Morris. I'm a teacher at Central High School, and I want to congratulate the newly published authors of The Fights We Fought have brought us here. I'm so glad that Ms. Walsh brought the story project to Central and that Joe and Darcy have guided you in finding voice for your stories. I'm so proud of the hard work I know this took. I thank you for representing Central so proudly and for sharing your stories and your victories over the fights that you have fought. I am especially proud of my student PAOLA, whose light always shined in my class and in my heart. Congratulations to all of you.
This is HALIMA OMAR, class of 2020 from Central High School. My chapter is called Days Inside of Days, which is about my life in Kenya and Somalia and how I got here in America. Remembering Somalia can be painful. I sometimes feel like my past is a shadow that follows me everywhere I go. So much has happened in my childhood. Some things that I don't want to remember, and other things that make me laugh, sometimes from nowhere. I remember things from my past. They feel like dreams, like witnessing my best friend's death. The feeling I got when I heard my grandma had been shot, or realizing some people I used to see every day are now gone forever. Even though it was 10 years ago, those feelings and memories will never go away. I sometimes tell myself that all the things I went through were just imagined. Some days more than 100 people would die in terrorist attacks, but no one talked about it, not even the news. Mothers buried their children and kids lost their parents. Every day I used to hear gunshots like it was the 4th of July. Sometimes I used to go to sleep to the sound at night and wake up to them in the morning. It got to the point where the sound of guns and bombs became our alarm. I have always liked for my brother Abdulhab, especially when we were kids. I guess it was because we were close. I wanted to play soccer with him and his friends, so I would listen to him and do what he told me. One day when we were walking to Duxie Islamic School, and he said that he didn't want to go because he already finished the Quran, so he wanted to play with his friends. He told me that he would be back before class was over. I told him okay. When class was over, I waited for him for a while, then went home, hoping that he was already going to be there, but he wasn't home. My family asked where he was at, and I lied and told them that he went to play with his friends. As the day went by, my family started to worry and asked me again, "Where is your brother?" And I lied again. Hours later, we heard the familiar sounds. It was happening again, the sound of fighting, and this time I had no idea where my brother was at. The Somali government was fighting Al-Shabaab, and we lived in between the two groups. When they got into fights, we were affected heavily. My family gathered together and asked if everyone was there. We slowly walked to the mosque because the walls were strong enough that bullets wouldn't go through. When we got to the safe building, I looked for Abdulhab there. I thought it was all my fault, that I shouldn't have held the light for that long. When it got silent again, we looked for him. Hours later, when he came back home, as nothing happened. The whole time he was gone, he was with the Ethiopians who were in Somalia to help stop the war. Even though I was mad at him, I was also mad at myself for lying to my family. I promised myself not to lie again, especially in serious situations. The process of writing this book in this journey was one of the reasons why I reflected on my life, I would say, because it gave me I had to rewrite my life. So that meant I had to go back and look into my life so I could rewrite more about it. So it gave me time to reflect on my life and see different views, because I'm not there no more. I'm here, I can look back into it. So it was interesting, I would say. I chose this story to write about it because it's one of the stories where you look back into it. I feel like not a lot of people experience, and if they do, it's like I want people to look into it and see different sides of the world, and then to relate to it, even though they didn't experience the same thing as me. Just to look back at it and be like, oh, she went through this. I haven't went through that, but we're here now, and we both experienced the same thing today. People that know me, they don't really know me to the point where I could go back and tell my story all the way in Somalia. They just think that, you know, I am just a happy girl that just grew up here, that like lived in Kenya, that just came here, but just knowing who I really am and just writing about things that I wanted to write about and just letting things out. I feel like while I'm writing at it, it was a great experience, and it was like one of the reasons, like I would sit down with my mom and ask her questions, and she'd be like, oh, well, you was doing this, I was doing this too, you know? So it's interesting to learn her side of the story, I would say.
Congratulations, Halima, you did a great work. I read the book, how you told everyone about our family and everything. I'm really happy. The whole family is proud. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Joe, for helping her share her story. Thank you.
Congratulations, Natalia, for your completion of the Louisville Story Program project. Your mom and I are very grateful and thankful that you use that opportunity to amplify your voice. We are so proud of you and the other young authors and the people at the Louisville Story Program who chose all of you young people to participate in this project that continues to be a needed investment in our community. Wishing you all, and particularly our beloved daughter, much love as they continue on their aspirations. And from your mom and I, we love you.
To all of you young authors, I cannot tell you how proud we all are of your phenomenal accomplishments. And I know that Muhammad Ali would be so proud of you too. Congratulations.
Okay, folks, that's it. That's the end of the program. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Your comments and presence mean so much to the authors and their families. It's a big deal to publish a book, and it means so much to the authors to know the community is listening. So thank you. We also wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of our Kickstarter supporters. We hope you're enjoying the books. We could not have printed them without your support. So thank you for that. And we got major funding support for the writing workshops and the editing and all of the other things that it takes to publish a book from the following institutions: the Fund for the Arts, Metro Louisville, the Kentucky Arts Council, CE&S Foundation, Norton Foundation, Crawley Foundation, and the Arthur K. Smith Family Foundation. Thanks so much to these organizations for their invaluable support over the years. Finally, we'd like to thank our major sponsors, Miss Christina Lee Brown, Matthew Barzin and Brooke Brown Barzin, and Owsley Brown III. And lastly, we could not have made this video without the support of the Muhammad Ali Center and Carrie Newmeyer for her invaluable editing support. So thanks you all very much. Okay, good night.